G'day mate, how you going? Heaps of Aussie blokes are leaving Oz, mate. But why is this happening? Listen to this.
I never thought I'd have to make the video I'm about to make on why so many Aussies are leaving Australia and how there's so many people out there that just don't get why it is. They live in this bubble that doesn't allow them to have any empathy for the majority of Australians out there. This has come from the comments that I get. People going, don't let the door hit you on the way out. You can't cut it in Australia. That's why you have to leave. You're a sook. You're a whinger. You're a millennial. Oh, you don't have a work ethic. Blah, blah.
Yeah, work ethic. That's an expression they like to use in Australia. He talks about the notorious, Australian take it or leave it mentality. I've been there. I'm a Western European, by the way, who has spent 1.5 years living down under in New Zealand and Australia.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly.
All these comments of people that just can't comprehend why someone would leave Australia. Their beautiful country, their home, their the place that they grew up. They just can't comprehend why anyone would want to leave. And the answer is quite simple, really. The reason why there's honest, hard-working Australians leaving Australia is because they're economic prisoners in Australia.
Yeah, for real, Australia is the most expensive, or not really expensive, let's put it this way, the most overrated, overpriced country I've ever been to, okay? So the quality you get compared to the price you pay is very poor, okay? So the prices are high, but the quality you get is just average, And the wages in Australia are a bit higher than in New Zealand, but not that high compared to the cost of living, especially now, So I haven't been to Australia for a while, but the last time I was in Australia was back in 2017. I went there for a few days, and it was already, crazy expensive.
The cost of living has gotten so bad so quickly.
No surprise.
That it's better to pack up everything you've got and go somewhere else than it is to stick it out. Because it may be hard for some of you to comprehend, but it's very, very difficult to just push through and stop sulking and make it work when there's no end in sight. And that's what the silent majority of Australians are facing right now.
Yeah, especially the real estate prices have gone through the roof now. It's insane the price you pay in Australia for a home, especially in the Sydney or Melbourne area. It's insane, way overpriced, especially for what you get. The real estate quality in Australia is a little bit better than in New Zealand, but still not good by European standards.
There is no foreseeable end to the cost of living crisis in Australia right now. There's no foreseeable end. For a lot of Australians, they're looking down the barrel of going, well, I can't afford a house. I can't afford to save up enough for one. I can barely afford to eat. My job's not paying me anymore. What the hell do I do?
You are in a rat race.
I'm told by everyone, oh, just suck it up. Just push through it. You're Australian. You can make this work. Bullshit.
Yeah, sure.
It's really just bubbling to the surface that a lot of Australians are putting their hands up and going, I'm done. I have more opportunities if I sell everything I own, get on a plane, and piss off to another country.
Of course, especially if you send you sell your home. With that money, you can live very well in some countries. With the very high prices of everything in Australia, if you sell everything, you can afford a house easily, a few cars in Eastern Europe or in Asia, for sure. Now is the time to sell in Australia, because I don't believe this bubble will last forever. I could be wrong. Tell me in the comment below what you guys think if you are from Australia, New Zealand, but I don't think so. It's getting too far now. Too insane. The prices of everything are too high in Australia. So I'm not in Australia at the moment. I haven't been there for 7 years, 8 years. I don't know, but I still read a lot about Australia, watch videos. By the way, it's a beautiful country, especially Western Australia and Tasmania. If I were to go back to Australia in the future, I would move to Tasmania. Tasmania is beautiful. It's a gem, really.
That's how bad it's going. What's happening in Australia is unprecedented. Australia's always been the country that everyone wants to go to because the opportunities are here.
Yeah,
now
I remember 15, 20 years ago, all Europeans were talking about moving to Australia. They were talking about the Australian dream, you know. Buy that house for pretty cheap. It was still an affordable price, and you could easily find a job in Australia. Blue collar, white collar, you can easily make it in Australia. But that was 15, 20 years ago, you know. Since then, you know, things have gone south.
The reverse is happening. We have reverse migration. We have Australians that are like, the opportunities aren't here anymore. I'm going somewhere else.
Well, not for the Chinese, you know. Australia belongs to China now. Now the rich Chinese, they come to Australia, they buy everything, and you have to leave because you can't compete with the rich Chinese. That's why you have to leave or cope with it. It sucks, and now I understand. You know, I thought I would move to Australia at some point, but I did the math, and it wasn't worth it. You know, the wage I was offered then, I was offered, you know, a job in Sydney in 2017, but the job offer was the wage was just too low compared to the cost of living. You know, it didn't make sense to move to Australia then. Okay, yeah, I was making good money by European standards, but the cost of living in the Sydney area, where I had to, you know, to stay, to work, was just too insane. It didn't make any sense. You know, I would just, you know, get my money at the end of the month and spend it all on rent, groceries, and fuel in my youth, because I like cars.
And I know there's going to be a bunch of you in the comments that are going to say, suck it up. You know, there's plenty of opportunities in Australia if you just work hard.
Yeah, I know that drill.
Tell that to the majority of Australians who are just making ends meet, working 12 hours a day, coming home,
Insane.
barely affording food, rent, and electricity, and coming home and going, I'm working as hard as I possibly can, and I'm not getting any opportunities.
Yeah, I understand.
Tell that to those Australians. That's why there's so many Australians leaving. It's not that Australia isn't a beautiful country. It's not like it's not that Australia doesn't have an awesome culture. It's not like Australia doesn't have clean streets, and it's not that Australia is not safe. It's nothing to do with that.
Pretty safe country, Australia still. Compared to Western Europe, it's a safe country, I have to say. And clean country. Infrastructure is quite good, you know, even in the suburbs, you know, where the cities are. It's overall a nice place to be. You know, cost of living and taxes apart.
It simply comes down to the fact that there's a lot of Australians looking down the barrel of going from middle class to lower class into poverty, and don't want that to happen and want to do something about it. Now, is that sad? Yes, of course it's sad. No one leaves the country that they're born in, the country they love, unless there's a reason to.
Yeah, for real.
For us, we were not getting ahead in Australia. We were slowly being churned through the meat grinder of Australia. We're slowly tearing our family apart. And 2 years later, we're finally living the life we've always wanted to live. The life that I pictured for myself and my family. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting there with your 8 houses judging someone for wanting to leave Australia because they can't make it work, you should take a hard look at yourself and give yourself an uppercut. Honestly.
You know, Down Under belongs to the landlords. Especially in New Zealand. I don't know Australia as much as New Zealand, but the kings in New Zealand are the landlords. You know, they make the money, and the other people, poor people, work their butt off just to get by. You know, and to spend everything they make on groceries and on rent, which is insanely expensive, especially for the quality you get, the poor quality you get.
How can you possibly judge someone for wanting a better life for themselves and their family?
You cannot, it's normal.
Because it's a pretty sad state of affairs that leaving Australia and going to another country is even a viable solution to this problem. 20 years ago, it would have been complete madness to pack yourself up and leave Australia because there was opportunities.
Yeah,
it was a place where you can get ahead.
Sure.
And honestly, I'm one of the lucky ones. I was able to leave Australia, and I've explained why I've been able to do that in other videos. But I was one of the lucky ones that was able to leave for a better life. There is a bunch of Australians right now that don't get that opportunity. Yeah. There is a whole bunch of Australians right now that don't have that opportunity. These people are literally staring down the barrel of poverty and can do nothing about it. Because you can tell them to work harder, you can tell them to get a job, you can tell them to suck it up and save for a mortgage. But we all know that that's not the case.
We
all know that these people are working hard. We all know these people are saving what they can.
Yeah, the cost of living is just too high now compared to the wages. Now the cost of living is getting only higher, skyrocketing. And the wages don't follow. So of course they work only harder, harder, harder. And at some point, you know, this bubble will break somehow because it won't be possible to cope with it, you know. At some point it will be too much.
We all just live in this fantasy land that everyone can get ahead in Australia. It's just simply not the case anymore.
Yeah, not the case
Australia's
anymore.
cooked. That's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
You have the landlord class and you have everyone else. And unfortunately, until something changes...
Exactly. What I was saying, you know, the landlord class and everyone else. It's the same in New Zealand. You know, New Zealand is cooked as well.
This migration out of Australia is going to continue. Because why would you stay in Australia if you have no opportunity to get ahead? Why?
If you don't have any choice.
Because the beaches are pretty?
Well, they are pretty, but you know they are full with snakes, crocodiles, and sharks. Not everywhere, but in most places. You know, if you wander on the beach, you have to be careful, especially in Queensland. Because
the streets are clean. That's great if you can enjoy those beaches because you can afford a car and the price of fuel and drive down there. Yeah, that's fantastic. For most Australians, that's not even an option. They're just working to make ends meet. They work.
Yeah, Australia without the V8 Ute sucks, you know, if you're a car guy.
Working to survive right now, and my fear is I just don't know how many Australians can do that for that much longer. And you can
She'll
sit
be
here
right,
and,
mate,
and shake your head
say.
And say what I'm saying is a cop-out. I'm a pragmatic person. I'm a realist. I don't just have rose-colored glasses on because I'm told by society that Australia is the place to be because it's the best country in the world. And the chances of my life getting better in Australia or getting worse definitely way towards getting worse. And I know that's not the case for everyone. There's some people out there that have made amazing opportunities in Australia, and I salute you. So you guys are doing an amazing job.
Well, if you are a landlord and you own, as you were saying, 8 homes, then you're fine. You don't even have to work. You just drive your ute around, go to the beach, avoid the snakes, the crocodiles and the sharks, and go surfing. And have a couple of beers with your mates afterwards.
But the vast majority aren't, and they're just the collateral damage of this landlord class. And I don't see anything changing anytime soon. So if you want my thoughts on why people are fleeing Australia, that's why. And that's why I think it's happening. And that's why I did it. And I'm sure that's why there's a disproportionately large number of Australians leaving Australia that would never have thought about that 10 years ago. I never thought I'd...
It's roughly the same in Western Europe, you know. If you bought your house 20 years ago, 25 years ago, now you are well off. You bought it for a cheap price. Now you are, depending which home you bought and where, you are a millionaire or sometimes even more. If you bought 2 homes, 2 average homes here in France, in the right place, you're a millionaire. And just by, you know, working an average job back then in the 90s, just got lucky, you know. But now it's very difficult to become a homeowner, especially if you want a good one in a safe place, because France, you know, has a lot of unsafe places. It's not easy to get ahead anymore, you know, with the high tax and so on. So, you know, I hear this man, I understand his feeling, and I think he made the right move by moving to Asia. Tell me what you think below in the comments. Smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Share this video in Australia. Beautiful country, by the way. I love Tasmania, you know. I've done twice a road trip in Tasmania because it was so beautiful, you know. It's such a gem, you know, Tasmania. Check the links below in the description. Talk to you soon. Have a good one. Cheers, mate.